Welcome to IdeaGen TV. Today, I am honored to have with us Clearwater for Youth's Executive Director, Kevin Dunbar. Kevin, welcome.
Thanks, George. Just excited to be here with you, my friend.
And likewise, always a pleasure, always a sincere honor, and also an honor to have with us today Brooke Bennett, Development Manager at Clearwater for Youth, and also, perhaps most importantly, three-time Olympian, three-time gold medalist. You are the personification of leadership, Brooke, and I'm so happy you're here with us. It's an exciting moment for the organization and all that you're doing. And I'd like to lead right into the interview by asking you, Kevin, what is the mission of CFY, Clearwater for Youth, and what sort of opportunities do you provide to the youth of Pinellas County in Florida?
Well, thanks, George. CFY, Clearwater for Youth, has been a longstanding organization, 58 years in existence. The last 15 has really been focused on providing every child an opportunity in Pinellas County to participate in sports. We've expanded into a couple of other areas, but it's really been about the importance of youth athletics in the life of a child. And how we do that is we raise dollars for the organization to specifically make sure that no child cannot participate in the chosen activity they want to do because of economics. We're just a big believer in that youth athletics is really a foundation, cornerstone piece for a community. So these children being involved with good mentors, learning good skills. Most of them are never going to go on to play in college or to play professionally, but they're going to learn skills that are going to make them huge productive members of society. And so we have that piece in place. We've got a very dynamic board of directors, many of who came up with in programs that we supported, and this is they're paying it forward and they're giving them back by being involved with us.
Thank you, Kevin. And that, the mission of CFY is so incredibly powerful, as you just stated. And so, Brooke, how does CFY's endowment impact the organization? And where does your organizational funding come from for these, just incredibly critical programs that you provided?
Right, George. So CFY does have an endowment that is able to cover all of our administration costs annually, so that we can say that every dollar donated does support a child. And really part of my job as the development manager is to go out and build those relationships with local businesses, individuals that really believe in our mission, that we can go out and we can fund those youth athletic programs. We can help with education, and then some of our other areas that we're really starting to branch out that Kevin mentioned. So it is very important for us as we expand through Pinellas County to build those relationships, reach out to people in the community. Of course, I think a lot of us now in business realize that social media has a huge part of what we do to showcase all the great things that CFY is doing locally.
Incredible, Brooke. It's certainly so great to hear that the endowment plays such a critical role in the future, the ongoing operations, and the impact ultimately that CFY is having, and really as a model for other communities across the United States and really across the planet to take on these critical elements like training someone to be able to swim, a young child, which is a life skill. And so many of these children, especially in disadvantaged communities, just don't have access to this type of training. So I applaud you in what CFY is doing, because it's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. And so I want to go right into that with the pillars of support, Kevin. What are CFY's 3 pillars of support, and how do they shape all of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so we are basically focused on 3 key areas of support. One of them is that we are going into Pinellas County schools and providing water safety instruction for Title I children. So these are Title I schools that, from an economic standpoint, it is these are children that probably are never going to get to a swim lesson. Matter of fact, we find in these schools about 80% of the kids have never had any kind of formalized training. So we're working with Pinellas County Schools, break down all the barriers. What's the barrier? It's transportation. It's access to these pools. So we're working to facilitate making that happen. Scholarships, education is very big for us. Currently, we have 72 children, over $500,000 invested in the education of 72 Pinellas County youth to make sure that they have that leg up in their educational journey. And then we have our bread and butter, which is our grant program, which is about 65% of what all of our giving is, to make sure that a child can play a sport because of registration fees. We're making sure they have good, safe equipment. We make sure that they can travel to to a national competition if they are able to get that berth to be able to go there. And so that for our board is very important. This year, we're going to give away about $800,000 to 38 different Pinellas County organizations across all of the pillars. It sounds kind of neat, but of course, then that's part of Brooke's job. We have to go out and raise at least $800,000 to offset that. And in 2024, we're projecting to be over $1 million in giving to support the youth of the community.
Well, that's an incredible 3 pillars of support and shapes the way and the impact that you're leading. And so, Brooke, why do you believe that water safety is such an integral part of CFY? And how are you and the organization addressing and impacting this issue?
Well, George, I think you mentioned that just a minute ago, where you said water safety is a life lesson. And when you look at Pinellas County, we are that peninsula. We can get into the statistics, but this is something that we know. And of course, with my background, I am very passionate about every child being able to learn water safety, which is a skill that can not only save them, but potentially save somebody else. And with our Title I water safety program, we launched that in 2022. As Kevin mentioned, in that study with those first 2 schools, about 80% of those children were to be recognized as unsafe swimmers. And it was really almost earth-shattering to me when we spoke to these kids, and these are kids in kindergarten through 2nd grade, so they're 5 to 9. In that age group, drowning is the 2nd leading cause of accidental death. But when asked, had they ever received any type of formal water safety or swim lesson, that number was probably over 50%. When we completed the 2-week program of those first 2 schools, which was about 600 students, that number of unsafe swimmers dropped to just 20%. And that's significant. And these kids are getting picked up at school with the blessing of Pinellas County Schools, that we can transport them from school to a local community or city pool. That they're taking these water safety lessons on their scheduled PE days. So in 2 weeks, these children are getting 6 water safety lessons that are about 30 minutes each. As we went into this year, 2023, we facilitated that same program for 5 schools. As we go into 2024, we're looking to grow that to 10 schools. But we've already, with our numbers, provided nearly 2,000 children over 7,000 water safety lessons. So when we look at it as a organization, when we look at Pinellas County Schools and we look at Pinellas County, we will never know how many lives we've potentially saved. But in time, as this program grows, that when statistics start coming out and we can see overall that Pinellas County has dropped in the number of drownings, or the state of Florida is not ranked number 1 or 2 in the nation. I know for myself, and I think for our board and our entire staff, this is huge. And this is one of CFY's newer areas and one of our newer pillars. And for me, I'm just thrilled to be able to be a part of this and know that we're making a significant difference in the lives of today's youth.
And that is what is so profound when I mentioned it. And now you mentioned the statistics. I mean, it really is, it really does give you a chill when you think about, wow, the impact that you're making. I mean, it's just so profound. And of course, you don't, if you don't hear about a tragedy, it's tragedies averted. You're making and you all see the data in the future, but you're making such a difference in the lives of so many. And again, it's a life skill, right? It's not just they're in Florida, maybe they're traveling later and they become adults and they still are not able to swim. Now they can swim. Now you have this superpower to be able to potentially save yourself. So I can see why you're so focused on it, and thank you for that, because it's going to, obviously it's already saving lives. It's immeasurable in its impact. So thank you, Brooke. That was just incredibly powerful. And so Kevin, how do your athletic grants enable CFY to prioritize and then support all of your youth programs? How does that work?
So what everything that we do is kind of based upon, a grant process. So, but with a mindset of we want to get to the answer of yes. So Pinellas County youth-based organizations get the opportunity to apply for a grant with us. We have a rolling grant cycle 6 times a year. Matter of fact, we are just concluding the current grant cycle. We did on Friday, August 25th. And based around, as I mentioned earlier, the 3 areas: registration fee access, equipment, and when I say equipment, we'll do a matching grant up to $10,000 for a youth league organization, and then travel assistance to our children who are able to compete at a national level, so they're not standing outside of the local grocery store trying to raise funds because they have 2 weeks because they just qualified for something. But we're there to support that. But the bread and butter is that recreation fee support that we provide. And what that does is that does a couple of things. That makes sure that every child has access to be able to play. The other thing that it does do also is it keeps registration fees down, because if organizations are going to absorb those children into the program, then they're going to have to pass along the cost to somebody else. So we're offsetting and we're setting that course. The average youth athletic program costs about $200 a child. And we're literally funding thousands of kids to be able to play sports. Currently, with the 38 programs that we are working with, that encompasses almost 12,000 kids and about 7,000 families that we are providing support to. So we are making sure that our children can all play, and our children can play with all of their friends and have all of the benefits of what youth athletics has to offer. And as I mentioned earlier, many of our board members come from the background of playing youth athletics, high school sports, and they know the impact it's made on their lives. And it's why they choose to get involved and then provide their network and give back into what we're doing. So we provide that conduit and catalyst. Because of that message, here in Pinellas County, Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Rays are involved with us. The Tampa Bay Lightning are involved with us. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are involved with us. The Tampa Bay Rowdies are involved with us. The Philadelphia Phillies are a huge supporter of ours, and they're right here in Clearwater, is where they train and they do their minor league operations, as are the Toronto Blue Jays. So we have 7 professional teams that all see the benefit and the impact of that, plus many in the law enforcement community, Pinellas County Sheriff, Clearwater Police Department, St. Petersburg Police Department, because they see the impact of us getting kids involved with good, positive programming, good, positive role models. We're going to have good, positive children growing up to be great adults.
And what I love about this, Kevin, is the way you described it. It seems to me to be replicable, that communities across the country and again across the world potentially can take this model and adapt it and tweak it, but focus on it in their communities to help their youth. So I think that is another takeaway for me personally and professionally, is to say to the millions of viewers that will watch this program, this is an opportunity to learn, to take this model that you've built at CFY and take that thought leadership and the lessons learned and replicate it over and over again to help exponentially individuals thrive and be safe across the planet. And so, Brooke, I'd like to turn to you for a moment here about your scholarship program. How is it that you select applicants? I know a lot of people apply, but how do you select applicants? And then what is the impact this program has had on its recipients?
So education is really important to CFY, and since 2013, we've had the Richard O. Jacobson Scholarship Program. High school seniors are eligible for $10,000, $5,000 scholarships, and in 2022, we introduced the vocational and trade because that's becoming so big, and not every high school senior has aspirations to go to a four-year college, but they need to get their trade. They need to be ready to go out into the field and start working. So since 2013, with our scholarship program, we've given out over $900,000 to those high school seniors, and they have an application period. They submit their application to us with their essays. And I really have to commend, like Kevin said earlier, we have an amazing board that is very involved. And within that board, we have committees broken down. So we have that scholarship committee, and they take about 2 weeks once all of those applications are in. And they go through those, and they have a grading scale. And each person on that scholarship committee grades those applications and those essays so that we can rank those high school seniors based off of the scholarships that we have, the businesses and families that fund those scholarships, so that we can pair them up the best way possible. And truthfully, I mean, in the short time that I've been at CFY, and getting some of those feedback stories of those recipients from 5 years ago, or to see where they are now. And these are individuals that we know, much like our athletic program, that if they were not able, they wouldn't be able to play youth sports. We know a lot of these students would not attend college if it wasn't for receiving these scholarships. And these individuals have gone on into the medical field. We had one girl this year that wants to go into the medical field, be a pediatrician, be a brain surgeon. I mean, the list goes on and on, like far what I could imagine of ever exceeding, or being engineers, very, very high off in the business field. So these students are taking these scholarships with great pride, and they're putting them to use, and they're getting degrees, and they're going off to be great adults in society. So it's just another one of the great pillars that CFY does, and our board and our committee does a tremendous job, I think, every year picking the students and matching them with the right sponsor. And we get those letters back from the students as they go into their second year. What did they gain? What are they doing? And really, from a social media side, we've been trying to reach out more to our past recipients to follow them and get those stories, so we can encourage those incoming seniors as we get ready to get into that scholarship season here in November, that we can get them excited and tell them not to hesitate. Please put your essay in, put your application in. You know, I mean, the worst thing that you can do is sit back and question it and not do it. I mean, at least get it in, because you always have that chance.
And George, just one thing to add too is that you mentioned earlier about the endowment. So the way we're structured, so Brooke mentioned 10,000, 5,000, 3,500. That's what the sponsor provides for each child. CFY does everything else, and those are the kinds of things that our endowment does. It allows us to be able to do that. So literally every dollar that donor provides goes directly to that child. The other cool piece is that we've had a series of individuals of notoriety who have been involved with CFY over the years. and now we have groups or organizations that want to keep their legacy going. So many in the audience may remember Don Zimmer, the legendary baseball manager and coach. The Tampa Bay Rays fund a $5,000 scholarship every year in Zim's name, and his widow suit actually presents the scholarship award winner, and she's 92 years old. The legendary boxing trainer Angelo Dundee, Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard's trainer. His family does a scholarship in Angelo's name, all the way through to the former managing general partner of the Philadelphia Phillies, David Montgomery. The organization is so much behind what we're doing. They do a $10,000 scholarship in David's name, with one of the coolest lines ever in terms of what kind of student they're looking for. They're looking for a bat and ball student who ran out every ball just like David did. And that's how he played the game, and that's how he was in life. So again, life's lesson stuff and just a lot of cool stuff.
Gosh, the inspiration is limitless here. And it's coming through both of you who work on this on a day-to-day basis. But I mean, you can only imagine these stories, from the scholarships that Brooke went through to the success and the level of impact, again, that you're having. I mean, it's profound. And to your point, the folks that fund these scholarships, these families, the legacy, the impact, the belief in what you're doing, I mean, that's so important to drive a mission forward, is having people that believe in a mission. And in this case, it sounds like you have so many, your board, all of the funders and sponsors, you all, your team. It's incredible to see and to hear. And so, Kevin, I'd like to ask you, how do you measure success? How do you begin to measure? There's so much success. How do you put into a framework the success that you're looking to accomplish and measure it? And what is next for you to expand this impact even more?
So George, I measure success by the impacts we make. So we are constantly seeing that we're growing. CFY, Clearwater for Youth, used to handle just Clearwater. Since Brooke and I started 2 years ago, we are now doing all of northern Pinellas County, and in 24 we're expanding into southern Pinellas County, into the St. Petersburg area. We're already starting to do things there. So we are, seeing the need, seeing the involvement, those type things. So for me, there's the quantifiable piece of just how many more lives we're impacting. But I'll be honest, I'm old school. The way I measure success is when we go out to a program and we see the smiles on the faces of the kids, or we're doing a scholarship award and we see how that child is interacting with their sponsor and the proud look on their parents' face. That's the stuff that makes my head hit the pillow very well at night. Or if it's, we see the child, as Brooke mentioned, afraid, petrified of the water at the beginning of a water safety program. And at the end, we see them flourishing in the water and realizing that we've made that impact and that life of that child. That's how we really go out and measure success. And it truly is each child at a time, but we are literally impacting thousands and thousands of lives.
Well, and it's like a snowball effect, right? I mean, you are teaching life skills. You're teaching skills of leadership and impact, and those carry forward, right? There's a legacy to that that's inherent. If you know and have life skills like being able to swim, statistics will show, I believe, that you are much more likely to then teach your child how to swim, for example.
Right.
But if you have a fear of the water and you never learned how to swim, you will carry that forward. And so you're breaking a cycle as well. And you can't even begin to measure. I mean, you will, I know, but I can't even, in this conversation begin to measure the true impact of what you're doing. I mean, it's just profound on every level. And so, Brooke, I'd like to turn to you one more time to ask you, you're working on so many projects, and it's very clear that it's incredibly rewarding. I mean, how can it not be? But I'd like to ask, what is a project or projects? Is there a project that you can highlight today? There's so many, so I'm putting you on the spot, but is there a project you can highlight for our global audience to demonstrate what we're talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said earlier, CFY really focuses on the relationships with individuals and businesses within our community. So, myself, I try to get out as much as possible, tapping into media and sharing some of these feel-good stories so that, it takes one individual hearing about CFY. It takes one individual to have oh my gosh, this resonates with me so well. And we're not a big events organization. We don't rely on having to host event after event to get our funding, which is kind of nice because that's a lot of work for a very small staff. And we have a great boss that allows us to work smarter, I think, than harder. But we put our heads together and we do have some great things, and as little teasers. And I think one of the things that we like to do well is being where we are in the Clearwater and Tampa Bay area. And as Kevin mentioned, those professional teams that believe in the CFY mission. We also have a lot of former athletes and past Olympians like myself, swimmers that live in the area, boxers that live in the area and train in the area, that we really reach out to and respect their time, but allow that they believe in our mission. And we have a great areas around here, great golf clubs. So I would say two things that we're working on in the fall is tying in some of the local Olympians that have ties to this area, especially towards our Title I water safety program. But then also looking in the near future as we branch into 2024, is being able to host a premier golf tournament that would benefit, and the funds would be beneficial towards CFY. So again, I think it's for us and to be smarter and not have to necessarily work harder. And it's just telling our mission like you're allowing us to do today. And I think with that will make our future very bright, as we're able to say not only every dollar donated supports a child, but that we are also helping programs and individuals throughout Pinellas County as we go into 2024.
And I love that. Every dollar donated goes to support a child. I mean, that's not many. There's not many organizations that can say that, that can do that. And so as you expand your mission, this is an incredible opportunity to say you all are changing the game. And so I'd like to ask you, Kevin, what is your final call to action for our global audience? And how can they work to support your mission in any way possible?
So a couple things I think about, George. So when we look at kind of how and where we've got to today, it's strategic. We are not just chasing the shiny piece. We are very focused on the ideas that we're doing with our board. Our board is our guiding principle. Our current past chairman is the current mayor of the city of Clearwater. Our treasurer is two-time Olympian Michelle Smith with Fast Pitch Softball and the lead analyst on ESPN. We have people that have worked in senior roles for the Tampa Bay Rays, as an example, and many people who have their own businesses or work for large companies and have strong networks. And we base this all around the fact that our website, cfypinellas.org, everything we do is run through there. So our education program, people applying for scholarships, all go through cfypinellas.org. Our recipients that are looking to get grants or new people looking to learn about grants go there. people that just want to know more about CFY and its history. They want to know about what kind of organization CFY is. 2 weeks ago, we were very pleased to receive the 4-star rating of Charity Navigator, which is huge. Not many not-for-profits have that, but it shows that we have the pieces in place to be able to invest people's dollars wisely in making an impact on a child. And they can do all that, again, through cfypinellas.org. They can donate there. They can reach out to us to get more involved in what we're doing at CFY, or they can reach out to us because they just want to know how we're doing it so that we can maybe help and give them a little guidance for how they can do that in their community.
Kevin Dunbar, Executive Director, CFY, Brooke Bennett, Development Manager, and 3-time Olympian. Got to throw that in there again. I stand in awe of that. And I stand in awe of all that you're doing, all that you will do, and the lives that you're impacting. It's just profound. Thank you so very much. You are both and your entire team, your leadership defined. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, George. We appreciate you. We appreciate your interest. As you know, you mentioned with Brooke, she's had that background, but this is how she chooses to want to give back to the community. You know, my background in local government, and if it comes across that we're passionate, it's because we're passionate about making a difference in the life of a child. And as I know you are too, my friend, and I cannot thank you enough for providing us this opportunity to tell our story.
It's a story that needs to be told. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Changing the world.